don't know. It's a tune that we have sung before, but the words are not as familiar as others. I'm going to read them to you again, so listen. Happy the home when God is there, and love fills everyone. When with united work and prayer, the Master's will is done. Happy the home where God's strong love is starting to appear, where all the children hear His fame and parents hold Him dear. Happy the home where prayer is heard and praise is everywhere, where parents love the sacred word and its true wisdom share. Lord, let us in our homes agree this blessed peace to gain. Unite our hearts in love to Thee, and love to all will reign. Good words. Thank you for singing them. You have heard me say this before, but I repeat because it's worth repeating. Every time we observe a Mother's Day or a Father's Day, I cannot help but think of this verse of Scripture that's found in Psalms. Hear the Scripture. The lines are fallen unto me in pleasant places. I have a goodly heritage. The word goodly there, it means shining or glowing. Is the heritage that you have, does that glow in your memory? It does, doesn't it? Talking with Tommy's mom before the service, she said this about her parents, and I said to her, the opening verse of Scripture will be meaningful to you. Listen again. The lines are fallen unto me in pleasant places. I have a goodly heritage. I speak for Marilyn and I both, because we have both been benefactors of a great and valuable gift, a goodly heritage. And I'm taking that to mean a godly heritage. I did not know Marilyn's father, never had the privilege of meeting him. Her dad died at quite a young age when she was about to finish high school. I never got to meet him. Knew her mother, have great memories of her. But her dad had a great Christian testimony and loved by his family and all who knew him. He loved the Lord. Her mother was the same. Loved the Lord, both of them. Loved their family. I've been in church ever since before I can even remember. I'm the third oldest child. My dad and mom found the Lord when I was very young. I don't remember anything about them at all that wasn't Christian in heritage. We sang that song about prayer. Boy, many times I've gone by my dad's study on Saturday night or early Sunday morning and heard him praying. What a memory. I have a goodly heritage. The message today, although it is intended especially for the ladies, it has application to all of us. And ladies, I want to say it again, not just the mothers, the ladies, either in honor of or in remembrance of your own mother. We join each of you as you remember her from days gone by or give her honor in the present. We're going to consider a portion of Scripture today that is often used in Mother's Day, perhaps more than any others. And it speaks of a woman that loves God, a woman that feareth the Lord. And we're going to find that phrase in our reading for today. And then, because there is much information in the portion of Scripture, we won't have time to look at every single phrase, but we'll notice and pay particular attention to just a few thoughts that we find. And we're reading from Proverbs chapter 31. It's a rather lengthy portion of Scripture. We'll take the time to read it. We will start with verse 10 of Proverbs 31. Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeketh wool and flax, and worketh diligently with her hands. She is like the merchant's ship. She bringeth her food from afar. She riseth also while it is yet night, and giveth meat to her household, and a portion to her maidens. She considereth the field, and buyeth it. With the fruit of her hands she planteth a vineyard. She girdeth her loins with strength, and strengthened her arms. She perceiveth that her merchandise is good. Her candle goeth not out by night. She layeth her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff. I'm going to pause a moment, because I had no idea what that meant. So I looked that word up in the dictionary. Spindle has to do with weaving, but the distaff is a tool that is used to spin the line around so it doesn't get tangled, and then you use it in the weaving process. She reaches, so let's read that again. She layeth her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff. She stretcheth out her hand to the poor. Yea, she reaches forth her hand to the needy. She is not afraid of the snow, something we don't see too often around here, right? Cold weather. For her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. Make sure everybody's warm. She maketh herself coverings of tapestry. Her clothing is silk and purple. Her husband is known in the gates when he sitteth among the elders of the land. She maketh fine linen and selleth it, and delivereth girdles unto the merchant. Strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. She openeth her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. She looketh well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness. Her children arise up, and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praiseth her. Many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excellest them all. Favor is deceitful, beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. And that's where the title of the message comes this morning, a woman that fears the Lord. I'll read verse 30 again. Favor is deceitful, beauty is vain, But a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. Now, as I said, there is so much material in here, and it's not possible to mention every little phrase that we find, but I will call your attention to 7 different ideas that speak of a woman that fears the Lord, a virtuous woman. Verse 10 speaks of that virtuous woman. Do you know that the word virtue is an adjective that's not very often mentioned in people's vocabulary today? When is the last time you heard of someone being a virtuous person? It speaks of being morally pure, of someone who is chaste, and I'm using the word C-H-A-S-T-E. How often have you heard that word, chaste, meaning modest, morally clean? Who can find a virtuous woman? Her price is far above rubies. Her worth is not mentioned, is not to be commended with or compared to the riches of this world. No matter how many valuable jewels you might have, a virtuous woman is worth far more than anything you could find. Her value to God and family is measured best in the terms of her character. Her actions and standards are lived according to God's standard. Now, I found a verse that speaks of God's standard in a few words. It's found in Acts chapter 24 and verse 16. I will not read you the whole verse, but you may want to write it down and look at it later. A character, listen to these words, void of offense toward God and men, people. Character. What is God's standard of a good character? One who is void of offense toward God and people. That's a good, succinct definition of what a character is it not? Now, be reminded of this, because this is something else that we don't hear very often. You'll be reading the newspaper and you'll read a story about some great atrocity that is committed by someone, and the person next to them, close to them, will say, well, he was a good person. He may have committed this terrible crime, but he's a good person. I want you to understand that a person's character is not founded on what they do, but upon what they are. And what they are determines what they will do. Right? Yes. Again, this definition of character is much overlooked and yet greatly needed in the day that we live. A virtuous woman, a woman of goodly character, a woman of godly character, void of offense toward God and men, meaning people. Verse 11 says of this woman that she is trustworthy. When is the last time you heard that word being used of someone? You can trust that person. Their word is gold, right? Trustworthy, dependable, reliable, given to integrity, honesty, trustworthy. The scripture says the heart of her husband doth safely trust in her. Listen, a godly marriage is one where each can trust the other. not be afraid. Trust the other. Verses 12 to 15, I won't read them again right now, but these verses speak of the commitment of this woman. There is not a selfish motive in her. She is pledged to duty and responsibility. It says she seeketh and worketh willingly. She riseth while it is yet night, and giveth meat to her household. She prepares food for all that are in her care, in her household. Verses 16 and 18 speak of her diligence. She is energetic and positive in all that she does. I must tell you that I read verse 16 and 17 and 18, and I say, I'm not sure how many modern women can identify with this woman, right? She considereth the field and buyeth it. She has foresight and thought in what she does. It's serious to her. She girdeth her loins with strength. She has inner qualities that are most important. She perceiveth that her merchandise is good, and her candle goeth not out by night. Now, I must tell you, when I read some of these statements, I wonder, I guess this is where the phrase comes from, a man's work is from sun to sun, but a woman's work is never done. Maybe that's where the idea came from. I don't know. A virtuous woman. Look at verse 19 to 21. She's compassionate. She has a heart for others. She not only loves her family, but when she sees a stranger in need, she reaches out to them also. She stretches out her hand to the poor, and she reaches forth to the needy. A virtuous woman. She is compassionate, has a heart for others. Verses 22 through 27, and I have used one word in these verses, dignified. She has a proper view and of her own role and work. Role, R-O-L-E. Proper view of her own role and work. Strength and honor are her clothing. Verses 28 to 31. Honor and respect do not come by demand. Right? They are qualities earned. Listen to the scripture again. Her children rise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praiseth her. And then this verse, favor is deceitful, can be deceiving. Beauty is vain. I heard it said this way, beauty is skin deep. But a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. There are many so-called, quote-unquote, modern women today that are most concerned about gender equality. And that is couched in terms of superiority and or inferiority. Now, I hope that you won't mind this, but I'm going to inject a personal word right here. I want you to listen, because I believe what I'm about to tell you. When either a woman or a man fails to respect and assume their God-given roles and responsibility to each other and to their family, they become inferior. I'm going to say it again. When either a woman or a man fails to respect and assume their God-given roles and responsibilities to each other and to their family, they become inferior. If they carry out those roles and responsibility, they remain equal in the sight of the one who is most important. And who is that? That's in the sight of God. They are not unequal. In fact, though the Scripture says to husbands, love your wives, they are to submit one to another, actually, found in Scripture. So men and women are equal in the sight of God, but they have different roles and responsibilities in what God has ordained for them, right? So ladies, don't be chastened or hurt by that comment. I believe it. You will never be inferior to anyone when you assume your God-given role and responsibility to your family, to yourself. Now, I'm going to read a rather extensive quote, something longer than I usually read, and I'll tell you when the quote is over. I found this in a sermon some time ago that was written by an Air Force chaplain. His name is Charles Mallory. And he is commenting on the Proverbs 31 passage that we just read and spoke of together. Let me read it to you. I'm starting this quote now. Physical appearance and attractiveness are not the determining factors on what makes a godly woman beautiful. This kind of mother surpasses all other women because of the way her husband and children rise up and praise her. She receives this praise because they consider her to be of so much value to them that they want everyone to know how much they love her. Still quoting. The characteristics of the proverb mother are hard work, wise investment, good use of time, planning ahead, care for others, respect for one's spouse, ability to share godly values with others, wise counsel, and godly fear. As Proverbs has stated repeatedly, these are qualities that lead to honor, praise, success, personal dignity and worth, and enjoyment of life. And that's the end of the quote. I'd be glad to share that with any of you that wanted to. I'm going back to what I started with. I'm echoing the verse again. The lines are fallen unto me in pleasant places. I have a goodly heritage. Being Mother's Day, this subject is very important to all of us. We all are endeavoring to leave a legacy that is of the highest priority. We may leave our family possessions that are valuable beyond compare in earthly dollars or worth. But if we don't live a godly life in front of them, we haven't given them anything of eternal value. You may remember a message that I preached some time ago. It was entitled, Something Received and Something Passed On. Heritage is something that we have received, right? Preceding generations. Legacy is something that we pass on to succeeding generations. So I brought a message entitled that. You all know where I'm going? At the end of my message, someone paraphrased eloquently something I did not say. Jody said it. Here's what she said. You can't choose your heritage, but you can choose your legacy. What a great statement. You can't choose your heritage, but you can choose your legacy. Fantastic thought. Ladies, mothers, all of us, we are now involved in trying to live in front of our families a life that will please God and be an encouragement to them as they too then choose to love and serve God. Wouldn't it be good after we're gone that they can look back and say, the lines are fallen unto me in goodly places. I have a goodly heritage. Nothing more valuable. Amen? Amen. We're gonna sing a song in closing, and after the end of the song, I'm going to have you all be seated because we have a special remembrance for all the ladies that are present in our midst today.